So yesterday, EcoFlow released their Trail series, which is this very tiny DC-only power station. This is going to be really small and super portable. It's got a handle. This thing is adorable. I'm going to tell you all about it in this video, so stick around. Alright guys, so this is the EcoFlow Trail 300. There's three different models in this series. There is the Trail 300P, which is the one right above this. It has a light as well as Bluetooth and Wi-Fi capabilities for connecting to the app. The 300, which is this one, and the 200 have no Wi-Fi or Bluetooth capabilities and no app. You can't connect it to the app. The 200, the one below this, has no solar and no cigarette port, so it's literally just a 140 watt and a 100 watt USB-C bidirectional ports and two USB-A. This version and the 300P have a solar XT60 port as well as a cigarette port, and both ports are 140 watt bidirectional USB-C. So you have these 140 watt ports, 12 watt USB-A, as well as the cigarette lighter, which can output 100 watts max. On the side, you'll see some vents, where also if you lay this on its side, this gives a little bit of airflow just in case you accidentally leave it on the side. I have max charged and discharged, and I've never heard a fan, so I'm not sure if there's a fan or if there's just heat sinks with some airflow kind of built in, but never heard a fan in all of my testing. It's got it on both sides with this nice little triangle design. The handle on the 300 is like a fabric, almost reminds me of like a backpack strap. That's permanently attached to this and cannot be removed. On the back also has vents for either airflow or fan, but again, I haven't seen or heard of any fan, and looking inside of it, I don't see a fan. On the screen, you have pretty much the same screen display as the River 3. So you have the hours remaining, the state of charge, and then your input and output on that. The difference in this over the River 3 is that the River 3, when you press and hold the power button, it'll say off, and then it'll shut completely off. If you quick press the power button on the River 3, it just turns off the display, but the unit stays on. On this, if you quick press the power button, that is completely off. There is no off indication on the screen when trying to turn it off. It's just on or off. If you press and hold, it doesn't do anything, so it won't say off. Yeah, it's literally just, you quick press it, that is off. You can wake it up or turn it on by pressing either button. So you can press the power button or this DC cigarette port on button, and that will also turn on the unit, and it activates the cigarette port, and you can see by the indication here. So the River 3's USB-C port is only one direction, it only discharges. So if you plug this into the Trail, you'll go ahead and charge the Trail. Since the River 2 Max USB-C port is bidirectional, these two sometimes get confused. See how it's not doing anything? If you plug it into the River 3's USB-C port, since that USB-C port is output only, it's going to charge the Trail. A way around this is to use a cigarette port to XT60, and this will go into the solar port on the Trail. So if you wanted to discharge from the River 2 Max or River 2, any of the River 2 series, or a power station with the bidirectional USB-C, just get one of these cables and plug it into the solar on the Trail. So we'll do this, plug this in, plug this into the Trail, and we'll turn on this. So if you want to charge the River 3 from the trail, you could use this connection again. So you see now we're outputting 108 watts over to the River 3 through the River 3's solar port using the cigarette port on the river, or on the trail. So we've discharged about 5% of the battery. We started at 18%. It's discharged 13% at 100 watts from the cigarette port. As you can see here, still charging at 100 watts, which is great. One word of caution is that using the cigarette lighter, these tend to build up heat because of resistance. Make sure that you have a good connection and that the connections are clean. So we'll see the temperature. And say at the top we start at 86%. And as we work our way down, we'll see it heats up right around the cigarette port to about 100 degrees or so. Now, this isn't just like an EcoFlow problem, it's just this cigarette connection is just notoriously like that. To the touch, this thing is almost 140 degrees. I don't know if you can see that. It just built up so much heat through these cigarette ports, so I wouldn't necessarily use this for hours on end. It could produce too much heat. Another thing you'll see on the groups is that these connections are melted, and the XT60 port or the cigarette port sometimes gets melted through just a bad connection, or the connections are dirty. This adds resistance and ends up melting the ports. Again, it's not an EcoFlow problem, it's just the way the connection is. So we have almost depleted it completely. We're at 1%, it says it should take about a minute more and should be all done. These must be Texas minutes. It's said 1 minute for a while now. Actually, that brings me to a good point. Because this has said 1 minute and it's been several minutes now, when you first get these, you want to discharge them completely and then recharge them. That'll basically recalibrate the BMS and kind of show the battery where the floor and where the ceiling is. If you notice, BMS drift is what they call it, which means that if your battery seems like it's dying faster than it should, try running a full cycle, completely discharge it to 0%, and then recharge to 100%, and that should recalibrate. Ooh, hey, finally died. Thought I was gonna have to use the, gonna have to charge the River 2 mags. All right, so it looks like we've finally completely depleted it down to 0%. So now I have a few other tests that I want to try. So now I want to see if the EcoFlow alternator charger is compatible with the EcoFlow Trail. I have the 800 watt alternator charger with the XT60i connection, so I'm going to be using this as simulated solar or just to see if it's compatible with the Trail. I am also wanting to see if I can charge with solar or alternator charger as well as discharge at the same time, and if I can charge with solar and USB-C at the same time to achieve maybe some faster speeds. So let's check it out. Now, the first thing we want to do is make sure that the alternator charger is set to the maximum of 30 volts. We don't want to go over that or risk damaging the unit because the input is 10 to 30 volts on the solar port. So now that we have that set, we'll go ahead and plug it in and see if we get an input. The maximum input here is about 110 watts, give or take the temperature and voltage, but looks like we're getting max solar or alternator charger. I am using EcoFlow's 100 watt cable, so it is first party. We'll go ahead and plug this in, and let's see if we get higher charging. The USB-C on the River 3 is output only, so we won't have to worry about the bidirectional issue. And it looks like now our charging jumps up to 200 watts. I'll take another cable. Since the River 3 only has one USB-C cable, I'm going to use this AC adapter just to test it. Again, we're using EcoFlow's cable, 100 watt rated, and a 100 watt power brick. So I'll go ahead and plug it in, and let's see if we get any faster speeds. It looks like the max is 230 watts. That is as fast as we will be able to charge. So that's using both USB-C ports and the solar charging, which makes sense because the total math of the inputs on the spec sheet was 140 watts for both, for a total of 240 watts. Back out any losses and you're at about 230 watts. So it looks like we can confirm, no matter how you're charging with USB-C, with solar, with alternator charger, that the maximum input that you can get to the trail is about 230 to 240 watts. So now let's try unplugging these. We'll use the cigarette port. So now you'll see here is we have an input of 110 watts and output of 110 watts. So it's getting full solar while discharging at 110. What I find interesting is that it's going to prioritize USB-C over solar or alternator charger, this XT60i connection. I would have expected it to use the solar over everything, but it actually is going to prioritize USB-C. So you'll see that by my outputting watts is here, and so that's coming from the alternator charger or simulated solar. So if I plug in a USB-C, it's gonna, you see the voltage or the input drop off, meaning it's switching from solar to USB-C. And you'll see now my river is outputting 100 watts because it's using this USB-C cable. It's very interesting. So if I stop the output and I unplug this, now you'll see it switches back to using both solar and USB-C input up to probably about 200 watts. You'll get 100, 115 from solar and 100 watts from the cable. You might get 140 or 240 watts if you have a higher output cable and adapter, but I only have this 100 watt adapter. I don't have a 140 watt USB-C out. So, but yeah, it'll take both of these inputs simultaneously. So I hope you've enjoyed all the testing. I hope that this gave you enough information to maybe make an informed decision. I think that some improvements for next time from EcoFlow. I think the handle, if we could always have the same handle as the 300p so that I can replace the handle, I would like something leather. I always like kind of the darker units with a leather strap. I always thought that was really nice. So being able to customize those accessories, and you can sell them as accessories after sales, I think that would be really cool to be able to replace them on all the units, not just the P series. I think that we don't need USB-A anymore. I'm not sure what market research maybe showed, but USB-A, we don't really need it anymore. I would be happier with 4 USB-C ports and having 2 only one direction, only discharge, and then 2 bidirectional as well. That will mean that I can charge battery banks, you can charge drone batteries, you can charge other bidirectional devices just by USB-C without having to use an adapter for the cigarette lighter or something like that. Besides that, there's a mystery function that I don't really know what it does. and it's if you double press this button, this USB-C or USB icon starts blinking. I can't find it at all in the directions or any paperwork that it's come with. It doesn't have an app, so I can't look it up that way. I haven't seen any mention of it online, so perhaps as it gets closer to release, maybe I'll find out what that means, but for now, this is a mystery, and I don't know, I guess it'll remain to be seen. If you're looking to purchase any of the EcoFlow Trail series, these DC-only small and portable units, I'll have a link in the description. It's an affiliate link. It costs you nothing, but it does support this channel. If I get any discount codes or anything like that, I'll also put them in the description. And so with all of that, if you have any other questions, comments, rants, or raves, put them in the comments, and I'll reply to each and every one of them. Until the next time, have a good one.